You're listening to the Telltale channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. And take a look at my other YouTube channels too. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything I release. All links are in the description. In this podcast, there's an absolutely terrible song written by Trump extremists. I'm dubbing it the QAnon Quartet, though it's more than 4 people. Just rolls off the tongue. You have to hear these people. The QAnon Quartet has some famous people in it. Let's talk about some of the most notable, specifically Big Nick and Liz Crokin. These people are about as deep in the conspiracy rabbit hole as it gets. They're 5 minutes from wearing a tinfoil hat. Seriously, they seem to believe the government is trying to beam messages into our heads using high-frequency sound waves. There was a remedy for that back in the day. Tinfoil hats, for real. Mike Lindell showed up at a conference recently and told his story of coming out of addiction and making something of himself. Except it conflicts with other stories he's told about it. And I don't mean little inconsistencies, I mean glaring, obvious problems with the story. The dude went from addiction to nearly being a billionaire. His story's incredible enough as it is. Why does he have to lie about it? It's almost like he can't help himself. We also take voicemails. If you want to leave a voicemail, the number is 1-800-701-8573. You can also leave a message for me in text form by going to my website, owenmorgan.com, clicking Contact Me in the menu. Voicemail is still the best way to get a hold of me, 1-800-701-8573. Keep it between 30 seconds and a minute, and I'm just about guaranteed to hear it.
Guess what? Just got a couple of my Amish buddies shunned today by the Amish church. Over the years, there's been quite a few Amish men that reached out and wanted phones, so whenever they request to have a phone, I'll do everything I can to try to get them a phone. Not always can I do so, but in some circumstances, I have been able to get them a phone. Now, 3 of them replied back to me today and said, hey, I'm going to have to lay low for a while. I just got shunned. And I said, how'd that happen? They said, hey, that emergency alert that went off? Yeah, we had our phones on vibrate, and it still went off.
So, if you don't remember this, not too long ago, there's like an emergency alert system test, and the test system was capable of overriding your volume settings. That's what this guy is talking about right now. Apparently, he gets cell phones for Amish people, and the Amish had their phones on, and that emergency alert overrode the system. That's actually really sad. Really, really sad. I got an email about it. I just want to read it real quick because this is a TYT segment, and I want to watch the rest of the TYT segment, but let's read the email real quick. Hi, Owen. Have you seen, this is from Eli. Have you seen TYT's coverage of the Amish people that were shunned after their phones were discovered when the alert test made everyone's phone make some pretty loud noises? I know how you feel about TYT. I'm not a big fan of TYT. I don't agree with all their commentary, but I watch them a lot. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you know, it's a network. They've got a lot of people involved in their system. So some of their stuff's good, some of it's not so good. It's hit or miss, you know. I'm kind of iffy on TYT generally. Anyway, they were laughing at the people who were shunned like it was a big joke. I don't know what's so funny about people losing their community, their partners, kids, parents, etc. Thanks for what you do. I love your stuff. Yeah, I appreciate the email. It's very interesting. I wanted to watch the rest of this because this is really telling. It kind of reveals the general population's sentiment on what shunning is. I was a Jehovah's Witness. I am actively being shunned by my family right now. I haven't talked to my mom in I haven't had a relationship with her in 20 years. I think we've said a couple of words to each other over that time generally, but it has affected me very deeply. Now, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, when I was in it, I looked at Amish and thought, isn't it odd that they shun? What a weird thing. I wonder what that's like. Not even realizing that my own religion did that. So listen to the rest of this clip where this guy describes it and how TYT reacts.
Alert that went off? Yeah, we had our phones on vibrate, and it still went off.
I'm not sure why that guy was laughing about it.
I will say, when I heard about the emergency alert, my first thought was, oh, prisoners who have phones, I know the prison guards are gonna use this as an opportunity to try to suss out those phones. I hope they all turn them off. Never did I consider the implications for the Amish. And there's one of those people who was shunned. Their story is just so much crazier than even that, because when the alert went off, the elders of their Amish community were at his house to.
I'm not really sure why she's laughing about this. I'm going as charitable as humanly possible and assuming that she was like me before I understood this. Shunning is life-ending. People actually check out because of what happens, and it is so much more common than people realize. It's almost quaint that she doesn't really understand how serious it is. Again, I'm not going to blame her for this because I kind of viewed it the same way. I didn't realize how pervasive this was, how destructive to people's lives it is, and how it's used as a weapon against countless people. So we'll be as charitable as humanly possible and assume she's just unaware.
Question him about something else they wanted to shun him for. Take a look.
The one guy said the elders were coming in his driveway and they were there to speak with him about something that they heard about him, that he might have to get shunned, you know. They got to check up on it to see if it's true. Right when that was going on, the alert went off and he was in his pocket. Now he's getting shunned for both, whatever they were after to shun him, and also the cell phone.
I'm not really sure why this guy is laughing. This is terrible. This is really deeply devastating, honestly.
He got double shunned. Oh, that poor guy. And if you're like me and you had no idea.
He got double shunned, that poor guy. They're kind of saying it like it's kind of thing where like, oh my God, his ice cream scoop fell on the floor. Oh, that poor guy. Man, he just spent like $3 on that ice cream cone and he really wanted to eat it. And now it's gone. That's not really what happened at all. And it's kind of sad that this is a general sentiment. Again, I'm not blaming her. I'm blaming general society, or honestly, I'm blaming myself for not getting the message out to more people that how destructive shunning is, you know? We really need to make people in our lives understand how deeply damaging this is.
And you had no idea. You had a vague idea of what shunning meant, but you didn't actually understand how it worked in practice.
Really quaint.
I did some, deep research on a website called Amishpedia to figure it out for you. It says Amish shunning, known as Meidung, is a practice in which an individual is completely cut off from social, economic, and religious relationships with other community members. It continues on. The shunned individual is often considered dead to the community and is avoided at all costs. The duration of the shunning varies. It can last for years or even a lifetime. If the shunned person repents, they are accepted back into the community. And Cenk,
it's kind of tacky to laugh here, right? Again, I'm not blaming her. I feel like she should probably do a little bit more heavy research before doing such a serious topic. It feels kind of like laughing about somebody getting the death sentence. I mean, they're very similar, right?
I've heard so much about right-wingers, saying that we were gonna become zombies because of the test on our phones. But like I said earlier, I'd never considered how this might impact Amish people who aren't quite ready to leave their communities behind, but still.
Yeah, so the emergency test broadcast thing went to everybody's phone at a certain time. I think mine was 2:20 p.m. And Qanonners believed that that was the signal they were sending out. Like, this entire time, QAnon has been claiming that there's graphene oxide in the vaccine, and anybody that gets a vaccine can have that graphene oxide activated by 5G in their cell phones. And all they have to do is activate the 5G, and, a million people just gone like that. They've been saying that for years. This one is from 2021, early August 2021. This is Pete Santilli and former Congress member, or maybe she's just a candidate for Congress, Deanna Lorraine. She's also an InfoWars correspondent, if you will, like an InfoWars talking head or whatever. Check this out.
The people now that are learning more about the adverse impact of getting vaccinated,
there's no adverse impact.
They're having regrets about it because
nobody's having regrets about getting vaccinated.
We're hearing about this shedding.
Nobody is hearing about shedding. It's not happening. You live in a fantasy land.
That's going on, and
the vaccine shedding.
The shedding, and also the activation of the graphene oxide. It's
There is no graphene oxide in the vaccine.
actually sitting there dormant, but if it gets energized by something like 5G, it actually kills all the cells around it.
I've had 5G on my phone for 2 years now, and I've gotten all 4 of my vaccines or whatever, however many.
That is so crazy to me. I mean, can you imagine if they just like activate and said, "Oh, all right, 1 million people are going to be gone."
That's the thing that's crazy to this dude. Anyways, so that was, that never happened, of course. That never came to fruition. But Qanonners, like these two people right here, seemed to believe that this emergency test that was going through was going to be the signal that was going to turn them into like zombies or kill them or whatever it is. Activate that graphene oxide that isn't even in the vaccine. Just absurd.
He's behind, but still want to feel connected to the world.
Well, first I want to say.
So I did listen to this entire segment, talking to the emailer. For what it's worth, Cenk comes back and, gives a really good response here.
Well, first I want to say my favorite thing in the world now is an Amish TikToker.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of an odd thing, right?
Hey, now granted, he's former Amish. That's why you can see he began to grow in the mustache, but hadn't quite gotten there. Anyways, look, the idea of shunning is super interesting to me. Everything the Amish do are super interesting. They also do something called Rumspringa, when after kids get to a point where they're about to become an adult, they get 1 year off from being Amish. And they can go nuts. They could do coke. They could have a technology. They could have a fridge, and then they come back. But
they don't always do that, but that's true. Sometimes they do, and it's not always an easy thing to plan or orchestrate. I mean, you have no money. You have no nothing. How are you going to get out of the town, let alone rent an apartment and have a job and everything? It's going to be a hard uphill battle. And it's going to be completely unfamiliar to you. It's not going to be fun at all. It's basically like being shunned for a year. That's what happens. You're shunned for a year, effectively. It's not really good. It's not a good way to introduce them to any of that stuff.
Hey, if you violate the rules after that, my dung, which is also hilarious. Come on. Anyways, but what's interesting to me is it's also a little bit of a telling story about the bubbles that we live in. We talk about the Trump, and earlier in the show, we talked about, is it a cult, is it not? I talk about the mainstream media and how they set up a cult in some ways of the politicians are wonderful and awesome and etc. But the Amish there, they really, really believe that we shouldn't do any technology, we should live in the 17 or 1800 times and get frozen in time, and if anyone violates anything like this, shun them. And shunning is no joke because humans.
See, now Cenk is coming back and setting the record straight in a kind way. I appreciate that. Like, I don't like Cenk. I think he's like off the rails on some things. Anna also, I think, completely off the rails on some things. And I think they're both populists and they breed far-right extremists. I don't know how this keeps happening. Jimmy Dore came out of the Young Turks. And Dave Rubin came out of TYT. Like, I don't get it. They're always on a weird side of every issue. Anyway, neither here nor there. He is on the right side of this issue, luckily. And I appreciate that he's saying it in a kind way to her and not shutting her down and chastising her and treating her like garbage. I wouldn't be a fan of that. I'm glad that he's coming in with a light touch and saying it's no joke.
Shun them. And shunning is no joke because humans are social animals. And when you reject them from the community, like for a human being, almost nothing hurts worse. So it sounds funny, but it has a severe consequence for the people who get shunned. And remember, they don't know that they live in this. I mean, they have some sense that they are outsiders and different from everyone else, but they don't know that the rest of us think that they're like kind of crazy and they could bust out any time. But remember, they're not crazy, they're not stupid, they're normal human beings who just grew up in that bubble. And that's why I think that story is so interesting.
I really appreciate everything that he said there. That was absolutely spot on. Again, I don't like the way that Cenk and Anna and the other people on TYT, the network, process things and talk about things. I don't like it. I think it's terrible. But overall, he did a phenomenally good job on this specific segment right here. And again, he didn't treat her like an idiot. He didn't chastise her or make her feel bad or lower or anything. He just tried to set the record straight so that she understood. There's a power imbalance between the two of them because she's an employee and he is the employer, and they're in front of a big audience. It would have been a completely inappropriate place for Cenk to have, dressed her down, for lack of a better term, on this issue. I think he did the right thing. Kind of joke around a little bit and then set her straight.
I know very little about Amish culture and the idea of technology. I know it's it was birthed out of, like most or a lot of religion, out of a split between two other denominations in 16th Switzerland. I just am. I want to know the definition. Who defined technology? Like what's acceptable and what's not acceptable as.
Well, I can answer that. I believe it was a split from the Protestant church. The Protestant church and the Anabaptists split off from each other. Anabaptists moved to the Germanic region, Russia, Germanic region, and then the Anabaptists split further into Mennonites and Amish, and then the Amish fractured into a million pieces. Basically, it depends on the Amish community that you're a part of, or even the Mennonite community you're a part of. A lot of Mennonites don't like using much technology either. They're a little bit less serious about technology use than the Amish, but it largely depends on the schism, or on the sect. That's SECT, sect. It depends on the sect that they're a part of, where their line is, so.
Pertains to usable technology, because the fact that someone is using a wagon, someone else may consider that technology.
Oh, it is. Yes, it's technology for sure. It's just they drew a line here because they believe that this is what God wanted them to do or whatever.
I think the idea that you can lose your entire family and also livelihood for an alert message, it to me is scary beyond scary. The idea that you are left out here alone, never being able to be a part of your community anymore because an alert went off is scary. I just don't understand.
Yeah, it actually causes a form of PTSD called RTS, religious trauma syndrome. And it's not just, trauma, I got trauma from being in religion. That's not what it is. Or, I don't like religion anymore. It's not like that. I mean, you start jumping at loud pops, you start having nightmares, the whole 9 yards, the same symptoms that anybody with PTSD has. It is a form of PTSD. It's something that I have, actually. And a lot of people probably have and don't even realize.
I can't wrap my head around it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'll say one more thing. First of all, don't be sorry. You can offend the Amish all you like. They're not watching. And if they are, they should be shunned. Okay, I'm kidding. You should not be shunned. Okay, I have nothing love for you, but I want everyone to bust out of their bubbles. But the point I was going to make is, if your community banishes you, please go find another community, because
100%.
You're not the problem, they're the problem. Like banishing people based on violations of etiquette, not even a crime, not even hurting someone else, but on some BS etiquette left over from hundreds of years ago. There's communities that would love to have you and that are loving. You don't have to stay in that exact community.
Absolutely agreed on that. I can't endorse that position enough. And what's more, sadly, I actually looked for ex-Amish and ex-Mennonite YouTubers. I did find an ex-Mennonite, but she didn't really talk about Mennonite stuff very often. It was only a couple of videos on her channel on YouTube. And I found one ex-Amish, and he only posted like 2 videos total with like 130 views between them. And then he just never posted again. So they're just, it's hard to bust out of that community. Very hard. And if you do bust out of the community, you've never even seen a computer in your life, let alone used one. What are the chances you're going to figure out how to upload YouTube videos and do editing and all of that other stuff? It's just sad, man. Anyway, thank you for the email, Eli. I appreciate that. It was an interesting subject to touch on. And yeah, I'm not a fan of TYT, but Cenk was on point on this one. And I'm just going to chalk up all the other stuff to a lack of understanding or knowledge. Try to be charitable.
Owen, my name is Joseph. I'm from Long Island, and I've been a fan of your channel for a while, before you even moved to New York. I was calling because I read a recent episode where a caller was remarking about how you thought that you didn't say it, but you thought that Jesus was a gay man, and you asked.
Well, let me just clarify. I made a joke about the fact that Jesus was never married. It doesn't make note of him being with any women at all, really, in the Bible. But he's always being followed around by 12 other dudes, and I just, kind of joking. It's a flippant remark. Yeah, I got a voicemail from somebody who was upset about that, said it was insulting to imply that he was gay. My response is, why is it offensive to imply that he's gay? There is speculation that he had a relationship with Mary Magdalene. There are apocryphal books where it basically spells that out for us. So if you're not offended by that, why would you be offended by the possibility that he was with Peter instead or something? That was the previous voicemail. That's the voicemail that this caller is referencing here. Just give you a little context.
Gay man, and you asked the question, what would be the problem if he was a gay man? The problem would be is that as a Christian, he didn't come here to get married. He didn't come here to have children. He came here to save us from our sins. And I understand that you're an atheist now.
I can understand that. Oh, we'll get to the rest of voicemail in a second. I can get that. I understand your position on that. The point is that he was not here to marry people. He was not here to have children or whatever. But Jesus was not an only child. He had siblings. He had an entire life. If you read some of the other apocryphal books that arguably belong in the Bible, but were rejected by, a council hundreds of years ago or thousands or whenever it was, for one reason or another. If you accepted those books, then you would have a much clearer idea of what Jesus' life as a child was. He lived a full, normal life by and large. As a matter of fact, there's one apocryphal gospel that, again, arguably belongs in the Bible, that describes Jesus having a serious temper and Joseph and Mary doing everything they could to keep him inside and away from people, because anybody that crossed him, any bullies, anyone that he didn't like, anyone that even looked at him wrong, died. So I don't know. There's a lot to Jesus there's a lot more to Jesus in the stories than simply he was a guy that got baptized by John the Baptist and then got strung up on the cross for our sins. There's a lot more to his story than that. A lot more. He had a life and siblings and friends and family and followers, and he affected the lives of everybody around him in some unique way. As a matter of fact, it could be argued that maybe it was his responsibility to get married and have children, actually, to pass on, God's line or whatever. Anyways, I don't know. I mean, if Jesus isn't allowed to get married, then why is anyone else allowed to get married? He was serving God. Aren't we supposed to be serving God? At any rate, that's not the point that the other caller was making. I got the impression the other caller was kind of unhappy about the implication that he was gay. Just plain and simple. Had nothing to do with whether or not he should have been married. It was really, for that caller, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, caller, I'm assuming that originally the original caller was upset by the implication that he was gay.
I understand that you're an atheist now, but there is a God. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I know that you want, proof. You want to be able to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. But
No, I don't need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt. I need any evidence. I will take almost anything. Right now, the world looks exactly as it would look if there were no God. I need some, anything. I'm grasping at straws here. I want this to be true. Please. I want to know that there's something out there, after I close my eyes for the final time. I don't want to die and that be it. I want there to be something beyond that. I just cannot believe it. I simply can't, because there is no evidence, like none. Now, you want to base it off of faith. That's perfectly okay. You can base it off of faith. That's what everybody does. That's fine with me. I just can't do it off of faith. I need just a little bit more than that. Sorry, I keep interrupting the voicemail. I'll let it play.
There's no doubt about that. I mean, I know that you want, proof. You want to be able to know beyond a shadow of a doubt, but there's very few things in life where we know beyond a shadow of a doubt. The only problem I have with your show is that you kind of skirt the issue about the religious aspect of it, and that's important to me. Even though I question things from time to time, I think in the end, there's a lot of people in your audience that do believe that God exists and that you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to interrupt again. I'm sorry. Yeah, there are a lot of listeners in my audience that are Christian, and that's 100% fine with me. In fact, I appreciate that they're here, because ultimately my goal is to shut down Christian extremism. I want to shut down Christian nationalism and QAnon and cults of various types. I have no interest in putting an end to Christianity or whatever. That's like not on my list of goals. So
there's a lot of people in your audience that do believe that God exists and that Jesus Christ died for our sins. Thank you so much. I love the episode where you had your daughter on, and keep up the good work. I've learned a lot by listening to your channel. Have a good day.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call. It was very interesting. Like I said, I think that your position on it is a little bit different than the other callers. Again, the other caller was not here to speak for themselves, so we can only assume. But yeah, an interesting voicemail, interesting subject, interesting perspective on it. I appreciate that. Cootmaster, what about surviving the near plane crash? Yeah, I was in a plane crash, or a near plane crash, an emergency landing. I was in an emergency landing on an airplane last year, and it was a deeply disturbing situation. But the thing is, belief in an afterlife or in God is not something you choose. The Christians in the audience are not choosing every day to believe that God is real. You're not choosing that. That's something that's a conclusion you reached. It's a conclusion I reached, that the God of the Bible, the God of Trump extremists, the God of Qanonners, isn't real. It's a conclusion I reached. And honestly, I can't think of a single thing that would convince me that Qanonners' God is real. The God that is supposed to be all-powerful, but is not stepping in to stop anything, who is relying on old Joe over there with his AR-15 to resolve the world's problems. I don't know what I don't know what kind of a bizarre warped view of God they have, but I can just about guarantee it's not real. I'm literally betting my life on the idea that God is not real. I think at best, the absolute most charitable you could say is God created everything and then walked away. That was it. He was done with it beyond that point. And all of the denominations out there, all of the writings and philosophical positions and conclusions that people have reached is all bullshit. It was based on information that they read out of the text that wasn't there in the first place. And a lot of the original text from the Bible is made up nonsense. And we know that for a fact. The book of John has made up stories in it, a bunch of them. That story about Jesus saying he who is without sin should cast the first stone, that's fake. That story doesn't belong in the Bible. It was added after the fact. The last chapter of the book of Mark is fake. Doesn't belong there. The book of Revelation is not really a part of the Bible. It shouldn't be. So anyways, that's my position on it. I would love to believe in a God. I simply don't. Simply can't.
Hi, Owen. My name's Hunter. I'm from Indiana. And I know this happened a while ago, but I wanted to get your opinion on when South Park got censored when they wanted to depict the Islamic prophet Muhammad, and whether you agree or disagree with Comedy Central censoring him out of fears of Islamic terrorist threats. So if you could answer this sometime, I would greatly appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Bye.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer it. I don't talk about Islam very often. Almost never. And it's not because, like, I don't think it needs to be criticized. It absolutely does. It's a lot of people on the left who are also atheists talk about Islamophobia a lot, and there's kind of a stereotype out there where, like, people on the left who talk about Islam are always positive about it. I'm not. I don't think Islam is good. I would like to see Islam as an idea erased from earth, and I want all of the Muslims to come to their senses and realize what this has driven them to do and how deeply damaging it's been to them and their lives, their families' lives, and their society and everything. Since that's not happening, I don't believe that we should allow their faulty conclusions and terrorism and extremism to affect what we do. So it was Comedy Central's decision to censor Muhammad. I don't really have a huge problem with that if that's what they chose to do. I mean, it's clever in its own way. Having a big censor bar like that, it's making its own point, right? This is something that we can't show. Personally, honestly, I think I would have censored it simply because it's making a point. But I don't think that they should be forced to. I think they should have been allowed to show it if they wanted. That's just me. Because there's this rule about not depicting Muhammad in any imagery that's, like, super against the rules in Islam. It's, like, super offensive to them. But, yeah, I'm sorry. We got to live in peace, and we got to get along. We all live in the same world, and we all have different cultures, and we got to tolerate the fact that we're different from each other. So, anyway, that's my position. Thank you for the call. Next up, there's an absolutely terrible song written by Trump extremists. I'm dubbing it the QAnon Quartet, though it's more than 4 people. Just rolls off the tongue. You have to hear these people. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description.
Only He will bring us closer when we fall to our knees.
And He'll lift us from the ground so that everyone can see that we never lost our freedom. It's in His glory.
This is bad, dude. This is a QAnon song that was put together by just a bunch of QAnoners, like a ton of them. Primarily, I think Jeremy Levy is his name, or Jimmy Levy. He was on American Idol, and he got pretty far, actually. And he turned out to just be like this MAGA rapper. Dude, I'm telling you, when I get older, I'm gonna have a permanent brow furrow like this. Permanent brow furrow from all the crazy that I see day in and day out. He produced this brand new song and included every major QAnon figure in it. So I want to start out by going through the song. I want to listen to the whole thing beginning to end, talk about what's in it and what they're talking about and what any of it means. And we're going to do breakdowns of some of the more famous people that did guest appearances in here, okay? So this guy that we're listening to right here,
In His glory.
this guy is Big Nick. He's a TikToker with somewhere around 2.3 million subbies, I think. Very famous and absolutely terrible. He is insane. If you want to hear about him, stick around. I'll be covering him in the next video. But for now, let's talk about the song and the heavy lifting whatever computer had to do to auto-tune the hell out of this. It's like Michael Flynn here. It's like he's stating what he wanted to say, just stating it. And auto-tune is working overtime, just frying that CPU, trying to turn it into something that plausibly sounds like a singing voice.
Only He will bring us closer when we fall to our knees.
He's seriously just stating it, right? Is this not just him stating it? He's in a song, man. To be fair, actually, like, when we get into the song a little bit, you'll see the whole group. There are some people in here that are really, really QAnon famous and didn't sing a single line. Like this guy over here, Grant Stinchfield, I think is his name, in the left, right next to Big Nick. He never said a word in the song, and that's probably his best bet. That was a wise decision. If you don't have any formal musical training or singing voice or whatever, if you don't know how to do it, don't try without training, okay? In a professional environment where you know millions of people are going to be listening, just don't. I don't care if you have auto-tune. Matter of fact, that makes it worse. Anyway, let's listen to the song here. We'll skip to the beginning. Amidst a firmament consumed by the oppressive grip of government overreach and tyrannical control, a man by the name of Jimmy Levy emerged. That's a dude that went through American Idol, almost went to the end. Poised to make a difference. Fueled by the Holy Spirit, he set out to bring together a group of gifted individuals. United by a common thread, they poured their souls into recording the timeless and evocative hymn of freedom. Hymn. A hymn of freedom. It's a religious song, is how they're framing it. And it's full of Qanonners. All right, so let's listen to it, shall we?
You can take all our money, but you can't have our soul. You can burn down our buildings, and we'll still find a home.
He's got a beautiful singing voice, really. He knows how to sing for real. Listen to what he does here.
And we'll still find a home.
You hear that little, oh, like that little trilling that he did? Vibrato is what it's called. A lot of the time people try to cover up their poor singing with vibrato. That is not what he was doing. He was using it appropriately. And also, what is wrong with this beard? What is happening with this? There's something deeply wrong with this beard. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's satanic. I feel like I want to say the beard is satanic. Should I go that far? Oh, yeah, and about that they'll burn down our buildings thing.
You can burn down our buildings.
Give me a break, man. That didn't happen, okay? None of that happened. I live in New York City. There's this whole thing where QAnonners and the right in general, honestly, just the right, claim that Black Lives Matter burned down New York City, burned down Portland and Seattle, Washington, and all these other places. In Spokane, Washington. I was told recently by a voicemail caller that I pronounced it wrong when I said Spokane. I apologize for that one. Spokane, Washington. They're all standing, guys. They weren't burned to the ground. Matter of fact, there were a couple of buildings that were burned down at various points. There were a couple of fires lit. That's true. But would it surprise you to find that many of the fires that were lit, or at least some of the fires that were lit were actually lit by right-wing neo-Nazi provocateurs, according to Reuters News and AP News? The far right wants to turn this whole they can burn down our buildings thing into like this point of persecution. But first of all, the people who live in these cities realize that it's not dangerous at all, and it's not being burned to the ground. And second, the people singing this probably don't live in those cities, so they have no idea if this is true or not. They're just assuming it is.
And we'll still find a home.
Really good singer.
We'll all stick together, and we'll never surrender. We won't give up our freedom.
It's got almost like a raspy sound to it, you know? It's really, really good. And he's absolutely on key. Now, that may be because of auto-tune. We know they're not above using auto-tune, right? But you can usually tell if somebody is a bad singer and using auto-tune to cover that up. If he's using auto-tune, I can't tell. Very impressive. Complete QAnon nutcase. Really good singer.
There were bright lights before it all went too dark. And there white lies, they divided our heart.
What are they talking about? Bright light before it all went dark? White light divided our heart. What?
In the blink of an eye, we were all left with scars.
What are you talking about? Who was left with scars?
Listen to man-made decisions, should've trusted God. You can take all our money, but you can't have our soul.
Who lost their money? Who had their money taken by, I don't know, who takes money? What's his name? George Soros? Is George Soros taking your money or something? Who had that happen? Please inform me. One example.
You could burn down our buildings and we'll still find a home. We were lost in-
This woman right here, former Pussycat Doll from the band, the Pussycat Dolls. She's the only former band member to hit the Billboard charts for a single that she did, I think. I don't remember. Maybe she hit #1 on the Billboards. I don't remember what it was exactly. She's very famous. She was into acting, too, for a while. She's been in some very influential and famous movies and TV shows and stuff. And apparently she's a QAnonner, too. Everybody on this stage is a QAnonner. And like I said, we'll get into it in another segment, or if you just stick around to see the rest of this one, I'll talk about a couple of them.
We will all stick together and we'll never surrender. We won't give up our freedom.
Okay, she is a bad singer. You can hear auto-tune trying to correct for the fact that she's completely off key. The other girl, though, was pretty good.
We won't give up.
You hear auto-tune, it's like a robotic underwater sound that you're listening to.
Our freedom.
From the shores of California all the way down to the Keys.
This is Forgiato Blow, another famous QAnon rapper. We're going to be talking about him today, too, a little bit.
Only he will bring us closer
Michael Flynn.
when we fall to our knees.
And he'll lift us from the ground so that everyone can see that we never lost our freedom. It's in his glory.
We never lost our freedom. It's in history? Is that what he said? Okay, let me tell you something about this song. It's performed within a certain kind of range, like a certain octave, right? It's not really, like, when you go outside of that range with, like, a single note, you've got to really mean it, and it's got to be good. There's got to be a reason for that. Big Nick went way up here for absolutely no reason. And auto-tune was struggling to keep up, dude. They probably burned through, like, 6 CPUs trying to auto-tune this guy's voice alone.
He'll lift us from the ground so that everyone can see.
You see, he went even higher with that, so that everyone, like, I can't even reach that octave. That's crazy. This dude's got some wicked vocal cords.
Lift us from the ground.
I mean, he doesn't know how to use those vocal cords, but he's got them, apparently.
He'll lift us from the ground so that everyone can see that we never lost our freedom. It's in his glory.
Like, I don't even know what that means.
You can take all our money, but you can't have our soul.
You can burn down our buildings and we'll still find a home.
Okay, she went with the classic intelligent decision to not vary her voice too much, so auto-tune didn't have to do much struggling or jumping around. I don't believe that. I'm sure they used auto-tune on that. It didn't sound natural at all. But at least she didn't do the Big Nick thing of going way up high inexplicably. This is Liz Crokin. She is a QAnonner also. We're going to be talking about her in the next video. And she is about as extreme as it gets. Just keep watching. We'll get there. Oh my God, some of the stuff she says is crazy.
We will all stick together and we'll never surrender.
We won't give up our freedom.
Okay, that one sounded like she had an interesting voice, but she doesn't know how to use it at all. That was very obviously auto-tuned to hell, right? This woman right here, she made an intelligent decision with auto-tune.
And we'll never surrender.
She did the huh thing, and when she goes, huh, she changes her pitch, right? So Auto-tune has a lot less of a hard time trying to keep up with the absolute garbage she's throwing at it, because she does the thing, picks a note, and stays there. Auto-tune can kind of adjust it to where it belongs. Fascinating. Okay, now this guy's apparently a comedian. This next singer, never heard of him before.
We are running from left to right. Yet we find nothing on either side. We'll live in a doubt until we all just figure out that only God gives it to us. God gives us freedom. The Lord, He gives us freedom. And we just love His freedom. No,
Yeah, right here, this guy. This is Grant Stinchfield on the left. He was a Newsmax host. You can only see like the bottom half of his face next to Big Nick here. And he's only in here for like half the song, weirdly. Never has a singing line. I don't even know why he's here.
we won't give up our freedom. God gives us freedom. The Lord, He gives us freedom.
It's like they feel like they're so persecuted. Like they believe that they're being attacked by somebody. Honestly, they're singing about like losing their freedom. Who did you lose your freedom to? Who took it? Where did it go? This makes absolutely no sense. And it's an embarrassment. It's like a terrible embarrassment. Like everybody on this stage is filthy rich and hasn't lost anything to anybody. I mean, look, even this dude right here, Michael Flynn, worked as a foreign agent against United States interests while in public office, undermined the authority of the U.S. president. He was somebody really high up in Obama's administration. Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014. Obama put sanctions on Russia. They don't say a word about it, and he's like, why didn't they say anything? That's unusual. Russia cries about everything. It turns out Michael Flynn told Russia, just stick it out. We're going to wait and see what happens. If Donald Trump wins this election, we're going to drop the sanctions. Lo and behold, Russia put time and effort and money into bot farms and propaganda networks, and Donald Trump wins the election and drops the sanctions. Now, I don't know what you call that legally, but I call that treason. The guy was charged for working as a foreign agent in the United States, convicted and sentenced, and pardoned by Donald Trump. Nobody on this stage is a victim. They are literally victimizers. They are people who have taken steps to hurt the United States intentionally. Okay, now they're going through the credits. Trump Latinos, is that a band? Billboard charting duo. And this is number 2 of Trump Latinos, Billboard charting duo, apparently. Marcus Rogers, he's a pastor. I've never heard of Marcus Rogers. You know what? I'm going to write some of these names down since I'm thinking about it. Let's see, hang on. Dude, I bet I can get so much crazy stuff off of this dude. We'll see. We'll see what he has to say. Then we've got Mises, Billboard charting rapper. Never heard of this one either. Jessica Sutta, she's the former Pussycat Doll. Angela Stanton King, reality show star, pro-life advocate. Never heard of her before. Forgiato Blow, that's who we're going to be talking about in a minute. Number 1 Billboard charting rapper. Yeah, he is a MAGA rapper. He only ever talks about MAGA. It's insane. Michael Flynn, 18th Director of Defense Intelligence Agency, 24th U.S. National Security Advisor. Except if you notice, they have his name written down here as General Flynn. That's incorrect. He's not a general anymore. He had his rank stripped from him because he effectively committed treason. In my opinion, he committed treason. He's a traitor in spirit, at the very least. Not only did he do that stuff with Russia, you know what else he did? He worked with the Turkish government The Turkish government is technically an ally of the United States, but they're like a far-right, nearly borderline dictatorship right now, right? And they want some of their political opponents dead. Like Erdogan is the political leader there. He wants some of his opponents dead for some things. Now, one of his political opponents moved to the United States, escaped to stay safe. And Michael Flynn, while acting as the 18th Director of Defense Intelligence Agency leader, National Security Advisor, whatever, took a contract from Turkey to get this guy that Turkey wanted and bring him back to Turkey to face execution. Seriously. Michael Flynn belongs in prison. He deserves to rot there for the rest of his life. Instead, he's speaking a song and having auto-tune do all the heavy lifting for him and making who knows how much money from it. It's an embarrassment. Yeah, this is Big Nick. He's just, God. We're going to talk about him. We'll get there. Liz Crokin, investigative journalist. Not quite. Known for iconic Out of the Shadows documentary. Now, I pulled up this documentary, and I'm going to take a look at it. I'm not sure if I want to watch it on air or not. We may watch it. We'll see. Siggy Flicker, author, Real Housewives of New Jersey. Okay, wow. Zoe Levy, I assume that this is Jeremy Levy's wife? Singer-songwriter, former American Idol star? Yeah, I don't know. James McCoy Taylor, The Bachelorette? Okay. Where are they digging these people up from? King Bao, professional fighter. Bobby Take Naps Sauce. Is that his real name? Bobby Sauce? With the nickname Take Naps? Okay. He's a comedian and political commentator. And then Conservative Ant, comedian, political commentator. Stella Escobedo, news anchor on One America News. Oh my God, she's got to be psychotic then. Grant Stinchfield, hosted at Real America's Voice. Yeah, we're going to be talking about him too. He used to be a Newsmax host. I guess he moved to Real America's Voice. Michelle Lubin Terrace, creator of Jexit Foundation? Political activist, prayer warrior? Oh my God, prayer warrior. Imagine putting that on a resume. Inspiration for this song and video. Jill Donne, reality TV star, matchmaker, investigator, author. You can't just put whatever the hell you want on your resume. You can't just claim to be an investigator. Does she have, like, licenses? Has she ever worked in the field professionally? Or does she just wander around and shove her phone in people's faces and demand interviews from people she doesn't like? Like, I have no idea. And then Jimmy Levy, the director. Just painful, dude. Absolutely painful. So let's talk about some of these people. Today I want to talk about Forgiato Blow. He was one of the people in there. And I want to talk about Michael Flynn and his connection to the evangelical world. So Forgiato Blow, actually, a little while back, he did another song called, wait, what was it? Was it Boycott Target? Yeah, I think it's Boycott Target. Give you a little bit of a cultural context. At the time, there was this big uproar about how Target had a pride section. Take Pride section. And some people found these Take Pride items, like Take Pride wine, I think they had, and maybe like a pride flag or something. And they brought it from the pride end cap to the baby section and stuck it in an end cap in the baby section and took a picture of it and said, look, Target is trying to make babies gay. They're trying to come after your kids and all this other junk, right? That's how this huge uproar over Target started. And at the time, Bud Light was facing some backlash simply for working with a trans influencer. That's it. Because they were trying to get into the trans influencer market or whatever. You know, whatever fans the trans influencer happened to have. Dylan Mulvaney, I think. Is that right? Anyway, he made a song about it, May 25th, 2023. And it's about as bad as you'd expect. I'm just going to skim through, listen to like a couple bars from it, okay? Oh yeah, Jeremy Levy is in this song too. Apparently Forgiato Blow and Jeremy Levy love working together. Clean up on every aisle. Target is targeting your kids. Got a sick beat though, right? My God, they know how to throw a beat together. Target on my back, but they targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep it strapped, and I'm always by my beds. Wait a minute. Wait. I'm sorry. Let's just listen to those lyrics one more time. What was that?
They put a target on my back, but they targeting your kids.
They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids.
They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is.
They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't need to ask because you know what it is. What?
That's why I keep it strapped, and I'm always by my business.
It's why I keep it strapped because I'm always about my business. He's saying that's why I always keep a gun on my hip, because I'm about my business, whatever that business happens to be. One can only guess. Okay, go on. Grade A lyrical writing so far. I am loving it.
Agenda gotta stop. Yeah, you know we gonna win when they target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids. Target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target you know it.
Dude, imagine being the poor son of a that was working at Target this day and you see some jagoffs in a cart shaking up these bottles of wine like they're shake weights or something. It's just embarrassing and painful.
Is that wrong? Trying to play with the kids. It's the mayor of Megaville. I'm preaching again. You know the LGBTQ to win.
Okay, now think about this. Let's just step back. Look at what we're looking at here. Think about this. What are we looking at? We're looking at Forgiato Blow complaining about gay or just pride, I guess, pride at Target, and noting the fact that there are tampon boxes that are pink and also some that are blue. I have to imagine his complaint, the reason he put this in, is because he thinks that the blue ones are for boys and the pink ones are for girls. I don't know what other point he could be making with this. Like, it is so bottom of the barrel stupid. I don't even know what to do with it.
LGBTQ to win too far. You know they cutting these kids, they leaving scars. Why they push.
This book he's holding up here, Rainbow High Yearbook, this has nothing to do with LGBT anything. And if you look closely, I mean, this thing has existed for like 30 years or something. It's a brand or whatever. It's a whole thing that has nothing to do with being gay. The main theme that you'll notice through this entire video is he is looking at things that he believes to be part of an agenda that aren't. Tampon boxes that are pink and blue. They're simply different brands. Rainbow High Yearbook. It's just a book. It's not even about gay stuff. And here's something else I noticed. So they're in the toy aisle complaining about targeting your kids, right? I'm not seeing anything like questionable in this toy aisle, right? So if we just skip forward a little bit, you'll notice there's a guy pointing out a thing here. Like, what is this? Why would they have this in the toy aisle? This is terrible. What is this exactly? What is it? It's a truck. It's a toy truck in the truck aisle, okay? There's nothing wrong with a truck in the truck aisle. What is he complaining about? I don't understand what his big hang-up is. Did he just pick some random toy and point at it on the shelf? Is he just pissed off that they're selling toys to kids? What is gay about this truck? I don't understand.
Yeah, they target, yeah, they target kids. Target, yeah, they target.
Okay, so this end cap right here is the only gay thing that I've actually seen in this Target so far in this music video. It's rainbow colored wine, and I think they're above it. I think they're rainbow beers. It's just a little Pride end cap with Take Pride alcohol. That's it. Very clearly not made for kids. Unless they think they're trying to get kids to drink wine. I don't know. So they just keep flipping between a Take Pride wine end cap and the toy aisle. Wine end cap and the book aisle. The children's book aisle. Wine end cap and the tampon aisle. Seriously. I mean, does it get any more ridiculous? Here's the top part of it. See, you can see this is, I guess it's just like canned wine. I've never heard of that before. And Stella Rosa bottled wine. I don't even know what that is. And these people are patriots, they claim. So anyway, the whole thing is just absurd and not based in reality at all. These people couldn't even find enough stuff in this store to make a realistic looking piece of propaganda. It's all ridiculous, all of it. As if that's not enough, Forgiato Blow goes on Fox News right when this released, late May 2023, to talk about how these kids are being manipulated and how disgusting that is.
I think it's just showing what the world needs. Like I said, it all starts with the children. Somebody has to stand up for the kids. Somebody has to stand up for the children. That's where they start with, this agenda with the younger group. They're easily manipulated by making them feel like, this is what everybody's doing. This is what you should be doing. And it's just not right. It's not right at all.
These people live in a fantasy land, man. I'm not joking. Like, I don't even know what to do with this. They think kids are being manipulated by Take Pride wine. That is all they could have found. You know how I know that's the only thing that was in that Target store? They go to this Target store. The only thing that said Take Pride on it anywhere was wine. I know that because that's the only thing they showed. I am 100% certain if they could have found a single thing to display in a kids section that could have plausibly applied to kids in any way, they would have shown it. Anyway, that is Forgiato Blow. Same guy that assisted in the production of this Freedom song that was made by, Jeremy Levy. Absolutely terrible, dude. Nothing good about any of this. It is sad and ridiculous. I will be damned if it's not entertaining to listen to, though.
From the shores of California, all the way down to the Keys.
It feels like he knows how to hold a note, but I think he's still relying heavily on auto-tune. Some rappers rely heavily on auto-tune, so I'll cut him a break for that one, I guess, a little.
Only he will bring us closer when we fall to our knees.
No excuse for that, dude.
And he'll lift us from the ground so that everyone can see that we never lost our freedom. It's in his glory.
Anyways, so I wanted to talk about Forgiato Blow, and I wanted to talk about Michael Flynn and how integrated into the evangelical movement he's become. Now, I've given you a little bit of information on this guy already, Michael Flynn. Let me give you a little bit more information on him, okay? So he's facing trial for, I think, acting as a foreign agent on Turkey's behalf, taking a contract while being a member of the U.S. government, an actor of the U.S. government. While operating under an oath, he took a contract out to capture a U.S. citizen and bring them to Turkey for the Turkish government. And Donald Trump pardons the guy, erases his sentence entirely, and then he starts doing this big tour, going to every televangelist he can to basically rebuild his reputation. And it worked among QAnon. He was successful in rebuilding his reputation among QAnonners. This is early August 2021. Kenneth Copeland, of all people, has him on his show.
There are field grade officers, I'm not happy to say, that just are glad they have a lot of rank.
Field grade officers that are glad they have a lot of rank. What? What is he even saying? Do these words make sense when put next to each other?
But General Flynn is a soldier's soldier.
No, he's not. He's a traitor to the U.S. government, actually.
General Flynn is the kind of man that will not ask a soldier, a slick sleeve like me.
Does Kenneth Copeland consider himself a soldier? What does slick sleeve mean? I gotta look this up. What does slick sleeve mean? What is a slick sleeve in the Army? Slick sleeve's a term we use for soldiers who have never deployed. It's a derogatory term. Especially used the higher rank they hold. Okay, interesting. Well, Kenneth Copeland, to my knowledge, has never been in the military, so he's not a slick sleeve. He's just not a soldier at all, but all right. He's also like 93 or something, isn't he? He's 86. I was close. Significantly older than Joe Biden or Donald Trump, actually, by 7 years. When you get up into those years, every year is significant.
that will not ask a soldier, a slick sleeve like me, to do anything he wouldn't do.
How does he know anything about how Michael Flynn operated as a general? What is he even talking about?
I would like for General Michael Flynn to join me on this platform, please.
He's not a general. He had that rank stripped. I'm going to insist on drilling that into people's heads. He is a traitor, not a general.
I'm going to give you a hug.
Yes.
Anyways, like I said, he was trying to rebuild his reputation after all that stuff he did. And, visiting the talk show circuit. He went on Copeland. He went to campaign for Republicans. This is a campaign event for Jackson LaMayer. Jackson LaMayer, by the way, is a pastor. He ended up losing his election, but I think he's kind of setting himself up for a political career in the future. Early March 2022, Michael Flynn came up with this clever little line that he used everywhere he went, and here it is.
This is a war that we're in. This is a big-time spiritual war. People like Nancy Pelosi, she's a demon, you know?
Identifying people that you consider to be your adversary, identifying somebody on the other side as subhuman, as a cockroach or a demon or a whatever, is actually one of the first steps to genocide, in all seriousness. I'm not saying that flippantly. I'm trying to really drive this point home. This is how serious violence begins, when people do this kind of thing right here. If you'll notice, you can go all the way back 8-9 years to the beginning of when I started my YouTube channel. You will never find me calling somebody by any name, cockroach or demon or any of that. It's an escalation that is as disturbing as it gets.
She's a demon, you know?
People clapping for this, man. Anyway, he also said, God, I didn't get that clip. I mean, I have the clip. I just didn't put it in. I thought I put it in. He also said that the 10 Commandments were the basis for the Bill of Rights. He says, put them next to each other when you go home and just compare them. No to literally all of that. The Bill of Rights are things like freedom of speech, freedom to have a well-regulated militia, the Second Amendment. I mean, what are they? Freedom against involuntary quartering, which basically means the government can't force you to house troops in your home. It's not as important today, but it was important when it was written. What are some of the... I'm just trying to remember some of them right off the top of my head. I think that one is... number 4 is freedom against search and seizure, unlawful search and seizure. Number 5, I think, is freedom... No, it's due process, so you have a right to a speedy trial. No, Fifth Amendment is a right against self-incrimination, and it may also include the speedy trial stuff. Let me see what number 6 is. I at least I can get up to number 5. Oh, no, number 6 is speedy trial, and number 5 is self-incrimination. So I can get up to 6, I guess. What's number 7? Seventh Amendment codifies the right to a jury trial in certain civil cases and inhibits courts from overturning a jury's findings of fact. I mean, does any of this sound like the 10 Commandments to you? Any of it at all? The 8th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects against imposing excessive bail, excessive fines, or cruel and unusual punishments. If I remember correctly, the 10 Commandments was in favor of cruel and unusual punishments. The amendment was adopted 1791. See, what's the 9th Amendment? 9th Amendment addresses rights retained by the people that are not specifically enumerated in the Constitution. Oh, this is an important one. So basically, it turned the Constitution into a permission slip. This is what the Constitution is... this is what the government is allowed to do or not allowed to do. They are not, by default, they're not allowed to do anything else. You have the right to do anything you want unless explicitly outlined in the Constitution. It's like a permission slip. I don't know. I'm not explaining this well, but let's see. 10th Amendment. a part of the Bill of Rights ratified, blah, blah, blah. Any powers that are not specifically given to the federal government nor withheld from the states are reserved to those respective states or the people at large. Okay. Wait, I'm not sure what the difference between the 9th and the 10th are. Anyway, the point is, they have nothing to do with the 10 Commandments. Nothing. How is any of that connected to the 10 Commandments? And then there's this little ditty right here, mid-November 2021, still doing his tour, trying to build his reputation.
And they're talking about the United States of America. Talking about the United States of America, because when Matthew mentioned it in the Bible...
Oh my God, he thinks the Bible was talking about the U.S.
He wasn't talking about the physical ground that he was on. He was talking about something in the distance. So if we are going to have one nation under God, which we must, we have to have one religion, one nation under God and one religion under God, right? All of us.
Great, okay, let's make it Islam. I pick Islam. How do you feel about that one? You good with that one? Let's pick Islam. Or, you know what? Let's pick Buddhism. This dude doesn't want religious equality or religious freedom. He wants to impose his religion upon others. He wants to force you to worship his God at the barrel of a gun. If you don't, he will make you, or make you leave, or take you out the old-fashioned way. This dude is about as disturbing as it gets. Everybody in this video by Jeremy Levy is as disturbing as it gets. To be honest with you, Michael Flynn isn't even the most disturbing person in this video, this rap video here. There are even worse people. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. These people are just nuts, man. And stick around for the next one, because we're going to be talking about Big Nick and Liz Crokin next. Skorvik's God gives you freedom but enables you to threaten mine. This song is hot garbage, 0 out of 10. Agreed. They're fantastic singers, some of them. Others are about as bad as singers get. I'm a bad singer, really bad singer, but I know how to critique it at the very least. They're about as bad as it gets, truthfully. But yeah, these people want to impose their beliefs upon others. When they talk about freedom, when they write their songs about freedom, make no mistake, they want to take your freedom. That's clear as can be when you hear them saying things like this.
He wasn't talking about the physical ground that he was on. He was talking about something in the distance. So if we are going to have one nation under God, which we must, we have to have one religion, one nation under God and one religion under God, right? All of us together, working together.
Tell me again how oppressed you are and how you want freedom for everybody. Go ahead. Tell me all about the freedom you're shooting for, guys.
We will all stick together and we'll never surrender.
You know, it's just cringy and terrible. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description.
Stay away from secular music. A lot of this music is actually using frequencies to cause you harm. As we know, Satan was Lucifer in heaven, and he was in charge of music. We have to understand that our spiritual enemy knows way more about music than we do.
Wait, Lucifer was in charge of music in heaven? What? I've never heard that. How did he know that? Is that in the Bible? I don't remember anything about it. This is Big Nick. If you're unfamiliar, he is a TikTok influencer, probably on the decline. I think he's got 2.3 million subbies on TikTok, which is not nothing. That's extremely influential. But he doesn't release very often, first of all. And second, he had a star role in this QAnon song that came out October 6, 2023, with like a bunch of other QAnonners. This is starting out with Forgiato Blow.
From the shores of California, all the way down to the Keys.
Only he will bring us closer.
This is Michael Flynn.
When we fall to our knees.
Now's Big Nick.
And he'll lift us from the ground so that everyone can see that we never lost our freedom. It's in his glory.
Okay, this guy does not know how to sing. Although, for the record, he fancies himself a rapper as well as the others do. Anyways, he had a star role in this, as well as some other people. Liz Crokin had a role in this song, too. Just listen to her little section. Those are the two people I want to talk about primarily in this video, Liz Crokin and Big Nick. And we're going to talk about their views, their ideas, their feelings on everything, and how they connect to QAnon, basically.
Take all our money, but you can't have our soul.
You can burn down our buildings, and we'll still find a home.
Yeah, that would be Liz Crokin. I apologize for that, guys. I know it was hard to make it through, but anyway, I'll just leave it at that. So let's talk about these people. October 15th, 2021, this is Big Nick on his TikTok account, or TikTok, or whatever it's called.
If you haven't noticed recently, the Biden...
TickFlick. That's it. TickFlick. TikTok, TickFlick, whatever.
If you haven't noticed recently, the Biden administration has been collapsing the American supply chain as multiple ships are left at bay, unable to transport their cargo. And also,
the Biden administration was collapsing the supply chain intentionally, according to this guy, because a ship got caught in the Suez Canal. I don't know if you guys remember that story from like years ago. A ship couldn't get out of the Suez Canal and it like jammed up everything. It was the what was it called? The Evergreen or the Ever Given or the Ever something or other. I don't know. That was Biden's fault, apparently. Biden did that because he wanted to make the world suffer, you see. Because he's trying to bring about a one world government, you see.
Cargo. And ultimately, the goal of this is to collapse the free world of America to usher in the New World Order, or the satanic one world government.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually a new world order.
Dude, he didn't even look. There are like 16 cuts in this video, and he didn't even like splice it together correctly. It's just missing words. Look at how many cuts this has.
The affirmative task we have now is...
That's one. The affirmative task we have now. He could have said anything after that. The affirmative task we have now is to rebuild the United States, bring back jobs, and solve the COVID problem. He could have said that for all we know. I have no idea what this is from. But he spliced it in with another segment where he says...
To actually a new...
Where to actually he says is to actually And then he spliced it in with the word a new world order. What? Is anybody buying this? This is absurd. By the way, he pops up a little meme here. New World Order. The Bible teaches in 2 Corinthians 4:4 that Satan is the god of this world. If you don't understand this, then you will never grasp the truth behind the workings of the New World Order. Oh, I was hoping he's going to explain what it is. I guess he's just going to tell you to read 2 Corinthians 4:4. Great. That was helpful.
Government.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually a new world order.
I'm making...
Like, if he's going to splice it together so much, couldn't he at least remove the word honestly?
The affirmative task we have now is a new world order.
I'm making this video today to be a watchman for all of you, but I want to let the righteous men and women of God know not to be stressed out, because in Psalm 37:19, it says, even in days of famine, they shall be satisfied. But definitely stock up on supplies and food and other items you may need in case they're not available.
What a fear-mongering joke, honestly. This is so sad. But you know what? It gets even more sad than that. October 17th, 2021, he comes out here and he has a little bit to say about secular music. I did an absurd amount of research for this segment because I knew it was BS from the start because it's coming out of his mouth, but I wanted to understand what the deal was. What's happening here? So let's talk about it.
Stay away from secular music. A lot of this music is actually using frequencies to cause you harm. As we know, Satan was Lucifer in heaven, and he was in charge of music. We have to understand that our spiritual...
I don't know that. I have never heard that in my entire life. Did that come from the Bible? Does anybody know what he's talking about with Lucifer being like the head of music in heaven or whatever? Is that real?
Understand that our spiritual enemy knows way more about music than we do. The satanic Illuminati bloodline family, called the Rockefeller family...
Oh boy, we're getting into anti-Semitic conspiracy theories now. The Jews did it.
Actually carried out a study on 440 hertz frequency. This programming frequency in music was shown to cause a lot of harm in people, such as greater aggression, psychological agitation, and emotional distress.
Okay, 440 hertz music, or 440 hertz bass music. What does that mean? Let's talk about it. And while we talk about it, I'm actually going to get my guitar so that I can demonstrate. Give me a second. Okay, this is just a cheap acoustic. I think it was like $100 or something at Walmart. So, and actually it was free for me because it came with my wife. So, came free with the marriage. All right, check it out. This is the musical scale on a piano. You can see here it starts at C, right? And we've got a little black key that's a C sharp. It's a half step up from C. And then we've got a full step up, which is D. So we got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And it keeps repeating. There is no E sharp. There's no half step between E and F. It's just E and then F. And there's no half step between B and C either. It's just B to C. When you pluck a string, it's vibrating at a certain frequency, right? It's vibrating at a certain pulse, basically, back and forth, right? Now, watch closely. I'm going to zoom in on this later. You can see the string vibrating, right? And you can see this one vibrating, right? Oh my God, it's so out of tune, it's terrible.
The satanic Illuminati bloodline family, called the Rockefeller family, actually carried out a study on 440 hertz frequency.
What he means when he says that is the A note above middle C. We'll say this is middle C right here on screen. This A note vibrates at 440 vibrations per second, basically, 440 hertz. It doesn't scale up exactly with every step, so it's not like you have like 20 hertz per step. So A is 440, B is 460, C is 480. It's not like that. It doubles. It's at an exponential height, right? And that's why when you play the guitar, you can do something called harmonics, where I can pluck the string anywhere with my fingers on the strings and mute it. It's completely muted, right? But if I go about 1/4 of the way down the string, right over the 12th fret, I get a harmonic. Because the string is vibrating in segments. It's vibrating in, half segments, 4th segments, 8th segments, 12th segments. And if I put my finger exactly where it's vibrating, then it creates this tone, this interesting sound, right? Versus not putting it on a harmonic, right? But you can find the harmonic. There are a number of them. There's one above 12. And then there's one right here, right? Anyways, there are also harmonics down by where you pluck the strings. There are ways to manipulate those locations and create something called pinch harmonics. That's neither here nor there. Okay, so what is he talking about when he says 440 hertz?
The satanic Illuminati bloodline family, called the Rockefeller family, actually carried out a study on 440 hertz frequency.
The thing that makes a sound in the first place is the string vibrating at a certain frequency, vibrating a certain number of times per second. 440 hertz is the standard for music in, I think, the entire world. At one point in time, the standard was 430 hertz, 426 hertz. I mean, it's changed throughout the years. But if it's off by a certain number of hertz, what that means is that it's just like a half step down. Like instead of playing a song like you normally hear it, like Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, it's one half step below that. All of the notes are still in tune with each other. Everything still sounds pretty normal because it's all in line still. It's just tuned down just a little bit to be a little bit lower. Instead of being way up here like this, it's just about right here like this, I mean, I'm just trying to give you an auditory example of what he's talking about here. So we didn't actually know what hertz were until the 1920s, I think. We didn't have a word for hertz until then. Until that point, it was called cycles per second. And we didn't really have a good way of measuring it either. So Big Nick's claim is that long and long ago, our ancestors played at 420 hertz, which is the music of the gods. That's simply untrue. We have the tuning forks of people like, I think, Mozart and Beethoven. We have tuning forks from a long time ago. And those tuning forks, usually I think they tune middle C for you, and then you can tune the rest based on that. Or maybe they tune A. Anyways, the tuning fork was tuned to different values for different people. 426 hertz for one, 432 for another, 439. I mean, they were all different values because we didn't have an extremely precise way of measuring hertz the way that we do today. That's what 440 hertz means. It is the standard. Across the world, the A above middle C will always vibrate at exactly 440 hertz. We have agreed that every instrument that's produced from now to time immemorial will always have A tuned to that standard. It's not some satanic thing. It's just the tuning standard. And it was never 420 hertz like he's about to claim. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. And this supposed study done by the Rockefellers, completely made up. This is just complete garbage, all of it. There was no greater aggression, psychosocial agitation, whatever that means, emotional distress. No, it's completely made up, all of it.
Such as greater aggression, psychological agitation.
It says psychosocial agitation.
And emotional distress. A lot of big artists in the music industry are actually using this frequency to cause these problems in your life. Check out a very popular rapper named XXXTentacion talking about the same exact thing.
That is a wild name. This appears to actually be XXXTentacion, and he is a real guy. Didn't XXXTentacion die recently? I think he did, right?
This frequency program, music is frequency. What frequency?
Dude, I don't even know if this is spliced together or what, because it's so jumpy. We saw Big Nick splice together like 6 segments of Joe Biden. Like, they split up every single word. It was ridiculous. So I can't trust a word out of this dude's mouth, but let's just listen and see what XXXTentacion is saying. Wild name.
This frequency program, music is frequency. What frequency are you being fed? If I play with those frequencies, right, I can target certain parts of the mind.
No, you can't. Target certain parts of the mind? No. Your brain operates at about 1 hertz, I believe. Your heart is 1 to 1.5 hertz. I looked this up recently. I don't remember exactly what the numbers are, but it's just completely made up. All of it. Every last bit of this is made up. There's no study that proves any of this. It's just a musical standard that we use. That's it. Before that, we didn't really have a musical standard that was spread worldwide. It was just whatever. You know, I'm going to tune my tuning fork to, or I'm going to have a tuning fork that tunes to about 426 hertz. And this guy over here has one that's at 430 something. As long as the entire orchestra is using the same tuning fork to tune their instruments, it's not a big deal. You can't really tell the difference. But everybody wanted everything exact, which I completely agree with.
Ecclesiastes 7:5 in the Bible clearly states it is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. Stay away from secular music because you don't know the deep spiritual warfare that it may be causing in your life.
It's not causing any deep spiritual warfare. This dude lives in a fantasy land. This is insane. If you think that's insane, just wait. You remember the song I played earlier? That freedom song or whatever?
You can burn down our buildings and we'll still find a home.
That's Liz Crokin right there. I want to talk about her next. We hit Big Nick and his absolute psychosis. That's just scratching the surface of Big Nick, but let's talk about Liz Crokin. I said earlier that song was written by and performed by Qanonners, right? Let's talk about this QAnonner. Mid-August 2022, she comes out here and she has a hypothesis about COVID.
The White Hats tainted the elite's adrenochrome supply with the coronavirus, and that's why so many members of the elites are getting the coronavirus. If
Okay.
indeed they do have the coronavirus.
If indeed they have. So she doesn't even know that they have coronavirus. Does she even believe that COVID is real at this point? There's a lot to unpack here. If you're unfamiliar with QAnon, just a quick 15-second overview. It's a cult that was created by a guy named Q. He calls himself Q Clearance Patriot. He's anonymous. We've come to find that it started out as Paul Ferber. Going to pop up a picture here. And it eventually, when moved over to 8chan, away from 4chan, became Ron Watkins with the assistance of his dad, Jim Watkins. Pictures over here.
My name is Ron Watkins, and I am not a politician. I am an entrepreneur, and I'm a computer scientist. We have to send a fighter, and I am your fighter. I am fighting for you. If you send me to DC, you will know that I will be fighting against this evil, and I will make sure that we drive them back, and I will make sure that your rights are kept.
They posted a whole bunch of stuff and created a de facto cult. And that cult started going down this bizarre rabbit hole about elites taking adrenochrome from children. Adrenochrome is an actual substance that exists. The claim is that you have to harvest adrenochrome from living victims. So you have to get adrenaline pumping through their body and scare them a whole bunch. And when the adrenaline is pumping through their body, you drink their blood, which contains oxygenated adrenaline, also known as adrenochrome. Now, adrenochrome is real. It is really oxygenated adrenaline, but is completely useless. It doesn't do anything for anybody. Adrenochrome, when taken, drank, eaten, whatever, just gives a mild headache. If you really want to buzz, you can just go get adrenaline. Or hell, jump out of a plane, do skydiving. If you want some crazy feeling, all you got to do is get that adrenaline pumping in your own system. You don't need to drink the blood of innocence, which doesn't do anything for you anyways. But QAnon is dead set on the belief that Hillary Clinton specifically, and Huma Abedin and some other people, which is a Hillary Clinton aide, are doing this. They're scaring children by like hurting them and doing some crazy stuff to them, and then they're drinking their blood while they're alive, and then they're killing them, basically. That's the claim. Just to add a little context, white hats are, in QAnon speak, members of the military who are working with QAnon. The guy, like Q Clearance Patriot, the dude that's posting all this stuff, they're working with him to further the goals of QAnon and bring about this big storm where all the bad guys are arrested and blah, 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 blah. So the white hats tainted the adrenochrome supply, I guess, of the elite. I'm not sure what she's talking about. Just absurd. White hats are just the good guys. It's taken from hacking terms. White hat is a hacker that's working to find vulnerabilities so that they can fortify a company's networks or systems or whatever. Black hat hackers are people who are hacking to gain vulnerable information or gain valuable information and sell it to make a profit or something like that. Good guy versus bad guy. So apparently elites can have a supply of adrenochrome. I thought they had to take it from a living victim. This is news to me. So they have a supply of it apparently, and it's been tainted with coronavirus. All right, go on. Let her cook. Let her cook.
The elites are getting the coronavirus, if indeed they do have the coronavirus. So adrenochrome is a drug that the elites love.
No, it isn't. It's not even real, okay? It's like, think of it this way. Think of adrenaline as weed being the drug, and the ashes after burning that weed are adrenochrome. That's the best comparison I can give you. It's spent adrenaline that's already been used up and rendered inert by bonding with oxygen molecules.
That the elites love. It comes from children. The drug is extracted from the pituitary gland.
Adrenal gland.
Of tortured children.
Why children? Why did they pick children? Can't adult humans produce this? Hell, can't animals produce adrenaline? Am I missing something? It's a testament to how truly sick these people are in their heads to come up with a demented conspiracy theory like this. Honestly, for good measure, let me just tell you the conspiracy theory for educational purposes if you're unfamiliar. I don't think I've ever actually said the entire conspiracy theory on my channel before. The claim is that Anthony Weiner was a congressman at one point. He had a problem with sending duck pictures, pictures of waterfowl. He was sending them around to random women. I don't know why he liked showing people pictures of geese and ducks and whatnot, if you catch my drift, but that's just his thing, so whatever. Anyways, he was sending those pictures around, and just to random people that he met, hey, let me get your phone number, and then he snap a picture and send it over to them of his duck at his house. One time he sent some of those pictures of waterfowl to some underage girls. I think they were 16, 17 maybe. I don't remember how old, but that's unacceptable, right? Absolutely unacceptable. And to make matters worse, at one point, he even sent one of these pictures of waterfowl with the duck in frame and his own child in the bed next to him in frame. Seriously, he's an absolutely terrible person. I think he's in jail now. I'm not sure. He deserves to be, if he's not. He's a Democrat, for the record. So anyways, he was sending these pictures of waterfowl around to all these people. And they went to arrest him. This is all real so far. They show up at his house, the police do, and they arrest him and they find his laptop. Now is the QAnon part. It's fake from this point forward. QAnon believes that they found Anthony Weiner's laptop. Anthony Weiner's wife was Huma Abedin, Hillary Clinton's aide. So they found Anthony Weiner's laptop. Wild last name for the crime he committed, right? What a crazy coincidence. Anyway, it's like the number of dentists that are named Dennis. It's just like disproportionate. So I don't know. Maybe he was predestined to do what he did because of his last name. Anyways, so on the laptop, according to QAnon, they found a video of Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin tying a girl, 12 years old, I assume, 12 years old, to a chair and cutting her face off, and Hillary Clinton putting her face on like Silence of the Lambs style, right? And laughing and all that stuff to freak the girl out and get her adrenaline pumping, at which point they put her blood into a goblet because now it's got adrenochrome in it, right? And then they drank the blood because it had the adrenochrome, and that's the drug that the elites crave, apparently. Like, we all thought it was Brawndo. Apparently it's adrenochrome. It's what plants crave, too, as it turns out. Anyways, that's the story. That is the QAnon conspiracy about Hillary Clinton and Anthony Weiner and adrenochrome. That's where it all originated. And it exploded from there. Matter of fact, this woman right here, Liz Crokin, was one of the first, or one of the early adopters. We'll put it that way. She's one of the early adopters of QAnon. So right after COVID starts, she claims the adrenochrome supply of the elites was tainted by COVID, apparently. Wild stuff, dude. Don't forget, this is very relevant here. Adrenochrome must be harvested from a living victim in their heads. I mean, it's not true. You can buy adrenochrome on eBay, I think. Scientists use it all the time for various different studies. It's not hard to get. But in their heads, it has to be fresh. So that's why they have all these child trafficking victims, because they they stick a Capri Sun straw in their arm and sip away, I guess, or something.
The elites love. It comes from children. The drug is extracted from the pituitary gland of...
It's adrenochrome. Why would she go with pituitary gland? Adrenaline, adrenochrome. Does she even know what adrenochrome is? Probably not, right?
Tortured children. It's sold on the black market. It's the drug of the elites. It's their
no to all of this.
Favorite drug. It is beyond evil. It's demonic. It is so sick. So there is a theory that... No, there isn't a theory. I assume she's going to put forward a hypothesis for us, right? Okay, what's your hypothesis, Liz? Theory that the White Hats tainted their adrenochrome supply with the coronavirus.
Why? It gives them a better high or something? The elites like drinking adrenochrome mixed with coronavirus or something? Jesus Christ, dude. This is insane. You think that's insane? Oh, that's nothing, baby. She's got more. Mid-August 2022, She comes out here and says even more crazy stuff. Remember, this all relates back to that QAnon song that was written by like Forgiato Blow, Michael Flynn of all people, Jeremy Levy, and everybody else. They all produced this song with Big Nick and everything. These are the people they had in this song.
The Illuminati, the elites, they use the Wizard of Oz to mind control child slaves. They
use the Wizard of Oz to mind control child slaves. How gullible can you get? Seriously. She claims to be an investigative journalist. How did she fall down this rabbit hole? This is insane.
They use different media. Alice in Wonderland's another one. They use different Disney movies and certain films to program children. And part of the programming is having them watch these films, and they also abuse them and they physically abuse them because the abuse splits their personality and creates different personalities.
Okay, I suppose in some cases I've heard of certain types of abuse causing dramatic trauma to somebody's personality. Sure. What does she mean when she says it splits the personality? And how does the Wizard of Oz factor into this? Does the Wizard of Oz split people's personality? What?
So then they are able to program them and control them, and they virtually become MK Ultra programming.
Oh my God, dude. She's going down the MK Ultra rabbit hole. This is ridiculous. Is there an end to what this woman will believe? Will we ever come to the end of the road where she would say, wow, that's just a little too far for me, man. I can't. I'm sorry. What makes this even more comical, honestly, comical and sad simultaneously, is that in 2019, leading up to a lot of this, she said this. Listen to this.
We will all be vindicated. I know it. Very soon.
All those QAnonners.
Well, definitely within our lifetimes, but very soon, before President Trump's presidency is over.
Just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies there, didn't she? Definitely before Trump's term is over. I mean, this is in 2019 when she said this. I guess she's eating those words, isn't she? QAnon's going to come along and create the storm where everybody is going to be arrested who's a bad guy and everything else. Actually, in all seriousness, January 6th was supposed to be the storm, and it failed miserably.
We are living in biblical times. We are living in a time where God is exposing all evil. And, you know, I've been calling John Podesta a pedophile for almost 2 years straight now.
Yeah, John Podesta was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, and he was the one to kind of start Pizzagate unintentionally. So you remember when Donald Trump asked Russia to find Hillary's emails? I don't know if you guys remember that forever ago.
That a person in our government, Katie, would delete or get rid of 33,000 emails. That gives me a big problem.
Oh, the irony.
After she gets a subpoena. She gets subpoenaed, and she gets rid of 33,000 emails.
This is so funny, right? Looking back on it and all of the documents that he stole from secure bunkers. This is so funny to listen to now, right?
Gives me a problem. Now, if Russia or China or any other country has those emails, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd love to see them. Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing. I think you will probably be rewarded mightily by our press.
So, they did. Russia did what's called a spear phishing attack on John Podesta, which is Hillary's campaign manager. Basically, he was getting spam emails sent to him personally, specifically, and sent to his phone number and everything, saying that, I don't know, you need to update your password on your Apple store, or you need to update your password on Google, or whatever. And when you click the link in the email, it takes you to a website that looks exactly like the Gmail login screen in every way. And maybe it even says Google in the little bar at the top, except one of the O's has a little accent mark above it. Or maybe one of the O's is a zero instead, and you don't even notice. And you go to log into your account, you type your name and your password in, and you get in, and it redirects you to the real Google or Gmail website, and you think nothing of it. You're like, oh, that's weird. Well, I typed my password. Maybe I mistyped it. And you type it in again, and it lets you in. But the email you received brings you straight to the hacker's website, and the hacker receives your password information when you type it in that first time. That's how Podesta's emails were retrieved. So what did his emails say between himself and Hillary Clinton and other people? He talked about getting pizza at a pizza parlor called Comet Pizza and Ping Pong, something like that. And QAnon, which didn't quite exist yet, this is kind of its founding moment, or one of its founding moments. The people who would eventually go on to become QAnon believed that every time they said the word pizza, it was code for little boy or little girl or something. I don't know. I think it was pizza and hot dogs or something. I don't even remember what it was. How whacked out to come up with a conspiracy like this? How truly twisted do you have to be? Like, this is really, really whacked out stuff. So anyways, that's Pizzagate. That's the basis of Pizzagate. And it got so many people whipped into a blood frenzy that a guy eventually showed up to Comet Pizza and Ping Pong with a gun and demanded to see their basement because they believed they were holding kids in the basement. They don't have a basement. Nobody was hurt. Luckily, the cops showed up. They brought the guy to jail, but the conspiracy theory persisted and got integrated into QAnon when it eventually showed up not long after that. So anyways, that's what she's referring to here with the Pizzagate stuff and everything. She started her career as a journalist, if you will, on Pizzagate. That's what she first reported on, if you can even call it reporting. That's called phishing, a phishing attack, but in John Podesta's case, it was a spear phishing attack. Spear phishing is where it's directly targeting a specific person. Phishing is just sending out a billion of them and trying to get as many email passwords as you can. He was spearfish attacked.
I've been calling John Podesta a pedophile for almost 2 years straight now, and people have called me crazy or thought I was crazy to make those kinds of accusations. But the evidence is so undeniable, I have no problem doing it.
The evidence is not, like, the evidence that he talked about getting a cheese pizza at Comet Ping Pong, and cheese pizza stands for CP. Where is your head? Seriously, how whacked out do you have to be to come up with something like this? This is, like, about as depraved as it gets. The dude didn't do anything, okay? He's as squeaky clean as it gets, as far as anybody can tell. And you are, like, slapping the most grotesque labels on him and insane conspiracy theories about him.
You'll notice he hasn't threatened to sue me, and many people have called him a pedophile. No one's threatened. He hasn't threatened to sue anyone. I mean, Andrew Breitbart called him a pedophile years ago before they knocked him off. Yeah. We're going to see.
Before they knocked him off. Does that mean she thinks that Andrew Breitbart, the founder of Breitbart News, was killed?
We're going to see John Podesta and his brother arrested. I would guess that announcement, without a doubt, will be made before the end of this year.
The end of 2019. Isn't that funny? Oh, God. So much irony in this video.
And all this stuff is going to be exposed, and we'll all be
any 5 minutes now, right?
Vindicated, and these rings will be totally broken up. The kids will be saved, and it'll be glorious. What are they gonna do when they find out that they've been so brainwashed and fooled? I mean, and how humiliating for these people. They're gonna be mortified that they were so fooled and they were so dumb and they were so naive.
She doesn't understand the irony at all, does she? She's sitting here claiming by the end of the year, at least by the end of Trump's term at the latest, right? 2021, all of this stuff is going to be exposed. I mean, Donald Trump's the president. He must have intel on this, right? He must know all about this secret ring that exists. It never came to fruition. It never happened. And now she's describing the feeling that her detractors should have. The feeling of absolute humiliation because I didn't believe Liz Crokin when she said that there was some trafficking ring out there trying to drink adrenochrome from kids. like Capri Suns. It's absolutely insane. Is there like an ounce of self-awareness in there? Does she feel what she's describing now that she's been unequivocally proven wrong at every turn? Of course not.
That they were so fooled and they were so dumb and they were so naive. And that's why we need to have compassion for these people, even though it's going to be tough, because a lot of these people were really awful to us and were really mean to us and mocked us.
That's because you're acting like a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I don't like insulting people. This isn't about an insult. I really hope you come back to reality, Liz, okay? But as far as I can tell, there's no reality in sight for you. You're sitting over here doing a QAnon song.
For trying to tell the truth.
Yeah, she's just trying to tell the truth, guys. She's over here doing a QAnon song, okay? With a bunch of QAnonners about how they're oppressed and mistreated.
Take all our money, but you can't have our soul.
You can burn down our buildings and we'll still find a home.
It's just embarrassing all the way down. It's embarrassing and painful and sad. Like, how does she wake up every morning and look herself in the mirror? Honestly. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments. These people are just unglued from reality. Next up. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description.
Smartmatic jumps on the board, and they sue for another 1.2 billion or another, and then they sue My Pillow and say My Pillow continues to make money promo codes and by spewing these lies.
This is Mike Lindell. Most of you guys probably know who he is. But something I noticed recently is that he is a liar. And I know it seems obvious, but I think it goes a little bit beyond what most people realize. Okay, I sit here all day, every day, and watch this extremist nutcase say the craziest stuff and wrap himself up into knots, coming up with these ridiculous lies. I mean, that's my job. I sit here and listen to extremist stuff and try to translate it for you guys. Well, I've watched a number of Mike Lindell videos up to this point and have caught him in, like, a lot of lies. And it's not just, like, weird little inconsistencies. I mean, massive, glaring lies. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to compare some of his various appearances where he tells his life story, and it's completely different every time, okay? Check this out. This one is from June 19th, 2022. He was at Greg Locke's church doing a guest appearance, telling his story of coming from crack addiction to where he is now, which is a truly hard respect, man. I was an addict at one point. I have respect for somebody who can come out of that. That is not easy. So anyway, listen to the story he tells.
I had been up for 14 days with no sleep, and
Lie number one. Human beings can only stay up for a maximum of 11 days before dying. It will kill you. So he wasn't up for 14 days. But actually, you know, this is a common lie that meth addicts tell. I've heard this a billion times from meth heads. They think they're up for way longer than they were or something. I don't know.
I had been up for 14 days with no sleep, and I come out of the bedroom, and all three of the big drug dealers are standing there. They're going that they knew of each other, but they had never met.
So he's in Minneapolis at this point. Lay out the groundwork for you here. In most big cities, the city is divided up, and sections of it are given to different drug dealers, right? This is how it actually works. You know, people from Detroit controlled sections of Huntington, and then people from Pennsylvania controlled other sections in New York and, you know, stuff like that. Detroit was the biggest supplier in Huntington, West Virginia when I lived there of heroin, of guns, of everything. So what Mike Lindell is describing here is the 3 drug dealers that are competing for each other's markets all come to a room, his room, matter of fact, his living room. They come to his living room because he knew them personally, apparently. People slinging millions of dollars in product, supplying the entire city with crack and whatever. And they know him personally, apparently. Just some random drug addict who's all methed out or cracked out or something. Okay? I'm with you so far. Let's continue listening.
And they're going that they knew of each other, but they had never met.
So Mike introduced these 3 drug dealers slinging millions, okay?
And I go, what are you guys doing? They go, we're cutting you off. The one guy says, Ty says, we're cutting you off. You've been up for 14 days. And I'm going, I've only been up for 12, whatever. And
drug dealers? I mean, slinging massive weight. Cut Mike Lindell off because he was hurting himself. I'm talking drug dealers who have probably killed people. I knew people like this when I was into drugs, okay? I knew people who, when you want to buy from them, they won't sell you anything less than $1,000 worth of drugs. And when you show up, they're in a hotel room. You walk into the hotel room. There are 10 guys staying in the room and guns stacked all along the walls. That is the kind of that you see when you're dealing with these types of people. Because they come into town with $100,000 worth of drugs, and literally every addict from here to Texas, and every cop, aiming for them, looking for them, trying to get what they have. These people do not around. And they certainly don't go somewhere without knowing who else is going to be there at any given moment. And on top of all of that, they will literally put a bullet through your chest at the blink of an eye. They don't care. I know who these people are. Okay? I've dealt with these people. They will kill you. But they cared about Mike Lindell, see? They cared that he was hurting himself, and they wanted to look out for him. So they said, Mike, man, you've been up for 14 days, okay? This is not good for you, bro. You got to get your head straight. I can't sell you any more stuff until you get yourself together, okay? Anybody who has ever been even tangentially involved in the drug world to any degree knows how absolutely absurd this story is.
I've only been up for 12, whatever. And the one guy says he's not getting anything from my people, and because they all had like sections of the town right there where we were. So I tiptoed out the door down to the streets of Minneapolis.
He says 2 of them left. One of the guys fell asleep. That's what was in that little black part I cut out. One of them fell asleep on his couch or his chair or something. Apparently, they liked to sleep on his chair with him, okay? So he tiptoes out while that guy is asleep. Go on.
Down to the streets of Minneapolis and tried to buy crack. And I couldn't buy crack anywhere. And in any city in this country, you can get crack in the middle of the night, trust me. And they're coming up to me, they're going, no. Well, they had gotten the word out by the one dealer had, and said, he had went down to the street, said, if you see some crazy white guy with a mustache, you sell him crack and we're coming after you. So the word had got out, and these guys are backing away like I'm, there's something wrong with me. I searched for an hour.
He searched for an hour and he could not find any crack because all of the major dealers that were slinging massive weight in the city probably walk around actually with an armed entourage or very, very rarely leave the hotel room they're staying in, and it's completely decked out with weapons. They came to Mike. And they said, you got to pull it together. You're too far gone, man, and we care about you. We're going to take a hit. We'll take the hit. We're not selling you anything anymore. We're not running our business for you anymore because we want you to get better. Right. Because I've known so many drug dealers in my life who cared about the people they were selling to and their well-being over anything. Absolutely. This checks out. I mean, does it, I feel like I've made my case, right? This guy is a habitual liar. How do you come back from telling such an absurd lie like that? That's bad, right? There's more. Okay, so that was lie number 1. Now let me give you lie number 2. I'm going to give you a total of 4 lies. 4 major lies. Lie number 1, drug dealers in his city cared so much about the guy that they were willing to cut him off for his own good. Here's lie number 2. It revolves around the fact that he used his platform to destroy the voting systems, the voting companies, Smartmatic and Dominion. He used his platform to destroy them, and then he used those election-related lies to build the platform that he had, to build his companies. So he was being held in deposition over this Dominion lawsuit. They claimed that he was using MyPillow to destroy their company, and that justifies including MyPillow, the company, in the lawsuit. So Mike was trying to separate his company from the lawsuit, basically, so his company wouldn't go under or whatever. All right, so with that context in mind, March 8th, 2023, this is the deposition he was in where they're arguing that.
After Mike was with Donald Trump in 2017 at a manufacturers summit, he started doing promo codes on Fox. I was doing it 10 years prior. This is a big lie.
Okay, so he says, it's a lie. I didn't spread out promo codes more than usual. I've been spreading them out as much as I ever have for MyPillow through Fox News or whoever else. Nothing unusual about what I was doing. Oh, yes, except for October 13th, 2023, literally, 6 months later, he's up on stage at a Reawaken America tour and says this in front of a gigantic crowd of probably 2,000 people.
Smartmatic jumps on the board, and they sue for another $1.2 billion or another, and then they sue MyPillow. And say, MyPillow continues to make money off promo codes and by spewing these lies.
Yep, absolutely. And that upset the guy, right? A couple minutes after his talk there, at the very end of his talk, the leader of the Reawaken America tour comes out, grabs his microphone, and he says this.
How many of you watch the NBA? NBA brought to you by Gay. Be gay, NBA.
Okay, I don't remember that as a sponsor, but I would totally buy it.
Be gay, NBA, be gay. And none of those woke companies want to be a part of what we're doing here. We're going back to the truth. We're going back to the gospel. We're trying to share the truth.
Totally. The truth. Absolutely.
And so Mike has stood in the gap for probably 90% of the podcasters paying their bills. He's basically using, if you use promo code such and such, it supports their show. So we're doing.
Uh-oh. Oh, boy. Just shut your mouth right now. You are burying this guy, okay? He's saying that Mike Lindell supports 90% of the podcasters in the far-right extremist sphere by offering promo codes. He uses his company, MyPillow, to support people who talk about election lies. Oops. It sounds like Clay Clark here, this guy, just destroyed Mike Lindell's defense. But it doesn't stop there. He keeps going and makes it even worse.
It supports their show. So we're doing right now, if you use promo code Flynn, all of that money is going to go back to, you're buying a product to help the folks in Israel, but it's all going back to Mike Lindell to support him with his legal defense fund right now, okay? So I want you to do, and don't make it awkward, but I'm going to give you a moment. Everybody go on mypillow.com real quick here. I need you to buy something and use promo code Flynn. I don't care what you buy. Buy a slipper, buy a book. If you have some Democrats in your life, buy lots of books, ship those to those folks. Okay, and then once you do it, if you can stand up so I know you...
Wow. They're holding this whole segment where you have to purchase something from Mike Lindell and show that you've purchased it, and then they will continue with this whole thing. That is crazy.
Bought something. And Devin, give us some good Mike Lindell buying music here, like maybe the Jeopardy theme.
Jesus, dude. That's insane. I mean, he just destroyed his entire defense, right? I don't know how else to interpret this. There is a flat-out lie, another lie from Lindell. He said he didn't use MyPillow to support the movement or to support election lies at all. He'd been running promo codes on Fox for like ever. And now he's out here shilling his pillows like he's selling them out the back of a trunk or something, trying to get people to buy them to support election lies. That's lie number 2. So lie 1, The drug dealers just cared about the guy so much, they came to his house and told him, "We're not selling to you anymore, man. We love you. We want you to pull it together." Line number 2, he didn't use promo codes to support the far right when they told lies about the election. Let me hit line number 3. He claims in this October 13th, 2023 Reawaken America tour that he was doing, he claims MyPillow is completely employee-owned, right? So the employees own the stock, benefits, and everything.
It's all employee owned. So the stockholders, all our employees, they didn't get any dividends. They know they're into the fight. They're into this. They're all behind what we're doing. I said to the lawyers, how easy it going to be? I said, I don't care about all this discovery and subpoenas. We've sat through hours. They subpoenaed my employees. 2 of them have been deceased for 5 years. Then they get.
Well, I mean, I think I've already unequivocally proven that this guy doesn't just tell the occasional lie. He appears to do it for fun and habitually. So, yeah, don't trust a word out of his mouth. If he says the sky is blue, check to be sure.
Been deceased for 5 years, then they get subpoenas. This is disgusting. They've subpoenaed employees that haven't worked for MyPillow in 6 years, you know.
Okay, that wouldn't surprise me. Sure, people do that.
And then they subpoena their phones and all this garbage. It's also the lawyers make all the money, but this is called lawfare. It's one of the worst things ever done to our country and hadn't been done since 1798.
What the hell is he talking about? Lawfare 1798? What? Does he even know what he's talking about? Is he just saying random words and hoping they fit together right now? That's my strategy. He can't have that. Okay, so line number 3, if you remember, his company is all employee-owned, right? Mid-May 2023, not 6 months before he said that, he said this.
What we're doing with Frank's speech within the next couple weeks, could be for 2 to 4 weeks, we're offering stock to the public.
Uh-oh, oopsie daisy. He said it was completely employee-owned. What happened to that one? Was he lying then, or did he lie just now?
This is going to be amazing. We're offering stock to the public. I want every person out there to have a little piece of the pie for our voice for this country. With the money that I use to save this country that I've been out spending, I've spent over $40 million.
Unresponsibly spent $40 million at least. I think it's closer to $100 million, actually. Absolutely absurd from top to bottom. Now, this guy may have the excuse of saying, well, you know, we never got around to offering it to the public. But one way or another, this guy has lied out his from beginning to end. And what's more, offering stock to the public like this, he knew his company was failing in this moment. When he was talking to Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend right here, yes, that's Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend he's talking to. When he was talking to her, when he was talking to him, he knew his company was failing. And he was claiming to offer stock to the public of his company. Anyways, you know what that's called? It's called a pump and dump or a rug pull. I'm not sure which one this would fall into, which category it'd fall into. A pump and dump scheme is where you have, say, crypto or you have an NFT or something like that. You offer it to the public. Say Logan Paul or Jake Paul or something has an NFT they want to sell, and they pump up this NFT. They make it big. They have this big initial public offering where everybody can buy as many as they want, and then they cut it off and wait for the value to go up as people buy more and more and more. And then they sell off everything that they own, which is all the rest of them, and pull out completely and let the price plummet. They have no investment in this NFT anymore or this crypto asset anymore. That's a rug pull, I believe, or a pump and dump. There is a difference. What is the difference? Hang on. Let me just find out. Pump and dump scams, working capital remains in the pool, but the price will be significantly reduced. So in this scenario, Mike Lindell, the people invested in Mike Lindell's company, and he sold off his stock. So the money is still in the company, but he walked away with money from it. That's a pump and dump. A rug pull is where everything, all of the money, Basically, it would be a rug pull would be if everybody invested and then he liquidated everything and closed the company's doors. That would be a rug pull. So in this case, it'd be a pump and dump is what he's doing.
$1 million. Unbelievable. Hang on a second. He spent over $40 million.
$40 million I've spent and
that's some responsible spending right there.
I need help. You know, we need help, but we need help
I know you do, Mike.
making a voice bigger, and we need help. The money that and you'll see this when this happens. I can't tell the details. The lawyer said, I will only let you tell this much. You know?
The SAC.
Oh, my God, dude. This guy is wild. Okay, that was lie number 3. I don't know if it's employee-owned or not, but it sounded like he's setting it up to be like a pump and dump scheme. If it didn't work out, if he didn't end up doing that, I'd bet anything that the SEC told him, you can't do that. We know you're going to do a pump and dump here. If you sell your stock, you are in so much. I would bet anything like what's it called? The Secure Exchange Commission? Wait, what is the SEC? Securities and Exchange Commission. Securities and Exchange Commission. That's the SEC. And they really nail you on stuff sometimes. They've certainly nailed Elon Musk on some stuff really hard. Okay, that was lie number 3. Now let's talk about the final lie that I have for you tonight. I can only go through so many. Lie number 4. Lindell claims that he never borrowed money to start MyPillow. He built this company from the ground up with his own 2 hands.
And I said, you know what? I told the lawyers, I said, you guys, I can't. And they've been great lawyers. They took on the case, back in in the spring of 21.
Yeah, he fired his lawyers because he's out of money.
A lot of lawyers are feared to take Mike Lindell's case, right?
No. Lawyers of all sorts, even lawyers who are on the left would be willing to take Lindell's case. I'd be willing to bet anything because A, doesn't really matter if they lose the case or not. It's very high profile. And B, that'll build their reputation. And B, everybody deserves a defense. Everybody, even Lindell, deserves an honest, zealous defense. Even if he's guilty, he deserves for his lawyer to get the best deal possible for him. Even Donald Trump does. That's how the judicial system works in this country. It's an adversarial system. Not perfect, but it's what we've got. So, no, I don't think lawyers are too afraid. I'm getting off on a side here, but I don't think lawyers are afraid to take your case, Mike. I think you're just broke.
A lot of lawyers are feared to take Mike Lindell's case, right? Well, what they did is also the banks then, I've never borrowed money. I didn't use bank with MyPillow. I built it from the ground up. The American dream. An ex-crack addict builds a business with over 1,500 employees. That's the American dream we're fighting for, right?
Okay, interesting. So put a pin in that. He says he never borrowed a penny from anybody. He built it with his own 2 hands, right? Jump back about 4 months, June 19th, 2022. He was at Greg Locke's church telling a story that absolutely contradicts that.
MyPillow was just, like I say, a blip on the radar. My sister says, prayed for favor. And I had these guys had stole my company, and I had to come up with $30,000 cash. Make that long.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hang on. Just a second. Somebody stole your company? How does somebody steal your company? What does that even mean? Does he mean he signed his company over to somebody else for some amount of money and then realized that it was more valuable than something like, I don't know. What does that mean? They stole your company. People can't just steal your company. Like, nobody can come in and steal my company. I own it. It's mine.
And I had to come up with $30,000 cash.
So he owed $30,000 in cash to get his company back? So somebody stole his company and held it ransom?
That long story short, I went and met with eight C's. I come in there and they're all dressed in suits. Remember, anybody that wore a tie and a suit and ate with more than 2 forks, I was afraid of, right?
Okay, interesting. So he's saying, when he says 8 C's, he means CEO, CFO, COO, whatever. Like a board, a board of directors or whatever for a company, right? I.e., what he's describing here is borrowing money, not from a loan shark, but from a bank, from a reputable establishment to rebuild his company. The people that he was borrowing from were reputable people. Now, take it from me, as an ex-addict myself, who also destroyed my credit when I was in the throes of addiction. If you don't have good credit or even decent credit, you can't get a loan at all from anybody. Nobody will give you a dime, let alone $30,000, okay? I haven't had a loan from anybody literally ever in my entire life up until, I think, a year ago. I got my very first credit card for $300. Yeah, this credit card company took a risk on me, decided it might be worth a shot. And I just, I don't even really use it. I just give my kid her allowance on it, and she uses the card, and then I just pay it off every month or whatever. And it's been building both of our credit. But even now, even with credit that's been built up, I can't just go borrow money from somebody. It's certainly not $30,000. And he was an addict at the time. He's telling me that as an addict who had nothing to his name, he walks into a boardroom full of CEOs and CFOs and whatever and convinces them to loan him $30,000 to buy his company back from somebody who stole it from him? Really? This is almost as ridiculous a lie as his original lie about those 3 drug dealers who just really cared about his well-being, wanted to make sure he was doing okay, was up for 14 days straight, even though people die after 10 or 11 days. It's almost as ridiculous as that lie.
Suit and ate with more than 2 forks I was afraid of, right? But I walk in this room to borrow this $30,000. I walk in, they're all wearing suits, and I start telling my story. These guys took my company. I need $30,000. I'll pay you back $40,000. I said I used to be a crack addict, but I'm going to do these home shows. I'm going to get back my company, and I'm going to help people in addiction. Their CFO goes, "When did you quit crack?" And I said, "Last Thursday."
Nobody in their right mind would loan a penny to somebody who told that story. Certainly not Mike Lindell. Forget the crack. Nobody would loan a penny to somebody like that anyways. It is nearly impossible to get a loan of even $3,000, let alone $30,000. This is a joke.
And 4 of them got up, looked for the cameras, and left the room. The other 4 stayed there, and they ended up doing it just because but they ended up doing it, and I did end up paying them back a couple months later. But
everything out of the dude's mouth is a lie. It's a habit with him. He doesn't know how to tell the truth about anything. I'm convinced of it at this point. People wouldn't even, connect the dots on this stuff. I wouldn't have, if it weren't for the fact that I watch extremist content after extremist content after extremist content constantly. His depositions, his leaked deposition between Dominion and himself, his guest appearances at various churches and conferences and everything else, it all adds up to be complete BS. All of it. I don't believe a word out of the guy's mouth at this point. Does he even like Donald Trump? I'm starting to wonder if he's a Joe Biden fan at this point. He told me he likes Donald Trump. I'm starting to doubt even that. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. This dude cannot help himself but to tell lies. Mark A. Smith. Mike Swindle. Oh, that's good. Swindell. Mike Swindell. I like that. Must own a 4,000-acre oopsie-daisy farm. Yes, exactly. Just picking those puppies all day long, right? That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this. And Telltale Reads, where I read books by televangelists and others. I release everything in parts, but every part stands independently of the last. So you can jump in anywhere, and I'll make sure it makes sense. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of all my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything. All links are in the description. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.